Hello viewers, I'm your host Uzma Jaffrey with another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show with Pakistan, where in a shocking turn of events, one of the most dreaded terrorists around the globe, Hafiz Saeed, was set free of his house arrest by the Pakistani judiciary. An infuriated New Delhi has slammed Islamabad for its continuous support in harboring of terrorists. A report.
Pakistan's duplicity was exposed yet again when it freed Hafiz Saeed, the dreaded criminal who masterminded the Mumbai attacks in 2008, which killed 166 people. The proscribed Jamaat-ud-Dawa chief, who carries a bounty of $10 million set by the US for his role in terror activities around the globe, was under detention since January this year. Outraged Indian Foreign Ministry, while condemning the decision, asserted that Saeed's release was Pakistan's attempt to mainstream proscribed terrorists, and Islamabad's policy of shielding and supporting the non-state actors had not changed a bit over the years.
India, as indeed the entire international community, is outraged that a self-confessed and a UN-proscribed terrorist is being allowed to walk free and continue with his evil agenda. His release confirms once again the lack of seriousness on the part of Pakistani government.
Meanwhile, massive anti-Pakistan protests erupted in parts of India to protest release of Saeed. Protesters burnt Pakistani flags and chanted anti-Pakistan slogans.
हम ये अपील करेंगे कि हाफिज सईद के साथ सख्त से सख्त कार्रवाई की जाए और हो सके तो उसको उसके इल्जाम तक पहुंचाया जाए.
Pakistan, which already stands cornered and isolated for its complicit role in acts of terrorism, has now hit an unprecedented low in the international political circuit. Islamabad has maintained its lies in the international community over dismantling terror infrastructure and not allowing its soil to be used for terror acts, but its duplicity and diabolism has been exposed in front of everyone.
The United States has also expressed its displeasure over the development. However, it remains to be seen what step India takes in order to give a befitting reply to Pakistan. We have Mr. Ajay Sahni, a counter-terrorism expert, with us who will speak more about the issue. Mr. Sahni, give us your first reaction on the release of this dreaded terrorist Hafiz Saeed.
There should be no surprise as far as this action is concerned. Pakistan has been consistently supportive of terrorist organizations operating against India and their leaderships. The record of Hafiz Saeed is very well known, and Hafiz Saeed has been given the fullest freedom to operate in and from Pakistan. We must also remember that as far as 2611 is concerned, even earlier we had this kind of a judicial charade ongoing. As in the case of Zakiur Rahman Lakhvi and the 6 other principal accused in the case. And all of them were released eventually because the investigative agencies and the prosecution placed no effective evidence before the courts. So the courts then released them. This is all part of a role of minimal satisfier that Pakistan plays. They tell the world that a judicial process is ongoing, but they undermine the judicial process to secure a decision in favor of their protected terrorists. I think we should expect this to happen again and again whenever such a situation arises.
Do you think this decision of releasing Hafiz Saeed will have long-term consequences on Pakistan's diplomatic ties with other countries and its reputation at global stage?
Pakistan has no reputation left at the global stage. Everyone knows it is an international sponsor of terrorism. Its actions against India are not the most important. It has acted against, in support of terrorists operating across the world. Even in the 9/11 case in America, Pakistan's role and the ISI's direct role in funding the 9/11 attacks is very well documented, is known globally. If you look at the footprint of Pakistani terrorism across the world, you will find that an overwhelming number of major incidents have been planned and executed from Pakistani soil or with a Pakistani footprint. So I don't think Pakistan is really concerned or worried about any reputation it may have, if at all it has any kind of a reputation left to save.
Thank you, Mr. Sahni. Moving on to India, where the 37th International Trade Fair was organized in capital New Delhi. Around 22 countries from across the globe set their pavilions in the Grand Fair. All 29 states and 7 union territories showcased their culture and heritage through various stalls. We have a report.
The International Trade Fair was organized in India's national capital, New Delhi, and attracted large crowds from around the globe. The fair saw many pavilions set up by many Indian states and international countries. Most of the Indian stalls had focused on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's dream project of Startup India and Stand Up India. Many states focused on the usage of natural products abundantly available in their respective states, while others focused on attracting more investments into their states.
आज मुझे कहने की खुशी है कि स्टार्टअप इंडिया सिर्फ कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं रहा तो असलियत बन गई है और असलियत भी ऐसे पैमाने पे कि आज 20,000 से ज़्यादा स्टार्टअप्स इंडिया में हैं और यदि विश्व की अलग देशों के साथ इसकी तुलना की जाए तो शायद 2 या 3 नंबर पे आज हमारा देश स्टार्टअप के नंबर में आता है.
As many as 3,000 exhibitors and participants from almost 22 countries put up their pavilions at the annual fair organized by the India Trade Promotion Organization. Stalls from Afghanistan and Bangladesh had been set up, and the stall exhibitors expressed their pleasure in returning to India as their business boomed during their visits.
In India, we are grateful from the government of India that gave us the opportunity for the Afghanistan people to attend this area, and we are very happy that we made good businesses. There are 42 boats available for Afghanistan traders, and totally 100 people are attending in this area, and they are very happy. Many people are coming buying the stuff from Afghanistan people, and the people of India are very friendly. So we made lots of money, and we are happy that this is good for our relationship to the Indian people, so which is good for both countries.
The Afghanistan pavilion had a variety of products like dry fruits, gemstones, traditional hats, clothes and mattresses. The Bangladesh pavilion, on the other hand, focused on the different varieties of saris and ethnic clothing.
हम लोग हर साल यहाँ ट्रेड फेयर में अटेंड करते हैं दिल्ली पे, तो हम लोग के यहाँ बांग्लादेश में बनारसी साड़ी जो होता है वो ढाका मीरपुर में, वहाँ से हम लोग ये साड़ी यहाँ लेके आते हैं. हम लोग का साड़ी बहुत नाम किया हुआ है, यहाँ आने से अच्छा सेल होता है दिल्ली में, तो जिसकी वजह से हम लोग हर साल दिल्ली प्रोग्राम में अटेंड करते हैं.
The unique flavors, colors, clothes and products from different pavilions of India and the world have been proving to be a hit with the public at large. The fair has opened gates to many businesses from across the globe because of the strong market which India possesses.
With events like the trade fair, India is proving to be a global market for many investors and businesses. Now we move to the Gilgit-Baltistan region, which has been under Pakistani occupation for over 7 decades now. In a move aimed at plundering the economic resources of the local residents, Islamabad recently imposed unprecedented taxes in the region, triggering massive protests. Residents called for an indefinite shutdown and demanded an immediate rollback of the decision. We bring you a report.
Massive protests erupted in Gilgit-Baltistan against the Pakistan government, imposing unjust taxes on several commodities ranging from petroleum to basic household products. These agitating residents are testimony to the misrule and barbarity they have been subjected to for 7 decades by Pakistan.
आवाम के ऊपर इतना जुल्म मत करो, आप लोगों को हम अच्छी तरह जानते हैं, आपकी कल क्या थी और आज आप लोग क्या है, आवाम के ऊपर टैक्स लगा के आप लोग अपनी एशिया और अपने तनख्वाहों को इजाफा करना चाहते हो। बहुत हो गया आप लोगों की करप्शन। गिलगित बल्तिस्तान का बच्चा वाकिफ हो गया है।
Islamabad has not only plundered the resources of the region but also the hard-earned money of its residents. It is a calculated and vicious plot of the establishment to keep these marginalized people away from the mainstream. Imposition of repressive laws is not new for the people of this region. Pakistan has always meted out a second-class citizen treatment to the residents of Gilgit-Baltistan. Pakistan is the epitome of barbarism. Earlier, the people of Gilgit-Baltistan were denied basic rights and any form of employment, and when they found ways of self-sustenance, severe taxation laws were introduced to loot their money.
यहाँ पे जो सूबाई हुकूमत ने जो बेजा टैक्स यहाँ पे नाफिज किया गया है, पेट्रोल की कीमतें बढ़ाई है, वहाँ से आता है, लोगों को यहाँ लूट मार कर रहे हैं, यहाँ के हुकूक के ऊपर डाका डाला जाता है। यहाँ टैक्स के खिलाफ हम इंशाअल्लाह ताला अंजुमन ताजिरा और चंबरा मुकामरस के साथ पाकिस्तान पीपल पार्टी से पहले भी साथ दी है, आइंदा भी साथ देंगे। ये बैंक से कटौतियाँ करते हैं, टैक्स के खिलाफ मालकन और स्वाद में कोई टैक्स नहीं है। गिलगित बल्तिस्तान को ये उन लोगों ने दुश्मनी पे उतर आए हैं। हम इंशाअल्लाह ताला अभी सड़कों पे आए हैं, पूरे जीबी में इंशाअल्लाह ताला हम पहचान करेंगे।
Pakistan has always muzzled any voice of dissent. However, the current show of resentment is unprecedented in the region, with an overwhelming support to the anti-government movement.
The sole aim behind the different drastic measures by Pakistan is to serve the interests of those ruling in Islamabad and Rawalpindi, including paving way for the China-Pakistan economic corridor. My colleague Ravi Khandelwal spoke to Mr. Junaid Qureshi, a writer and director at European Foundation for South Asian Studies, who has been leading a political struggle against Islamabad and for the rights of the people of Gilgit-Baltistan.
Pakistan is an occupier of POK and Gilgit-Baltistan. Now Pakistan is allowing China to enter into the disputed territories. So how do you see, how will it change the demography of this region? Because China is building this CPEC corridor from Gilgit-Baltistan.
I don't know whether it's an upgrade for the Pakistanis or not, but after being an occupier, now they have become a broker. So now they are trying to sell Gilgit-Baltistan to China, which they are openly concluding almost. The thing is that the demography of Gilgit-Baltistan has been changed long ago. Just recently I was reading, there was this hue and cry in Jammu and Kashmir in the Indian administrated part about Article 35A and 370. Article 35A is actually the state subject rule of Jammu and Kashmir. This state subject rule was abrogated in 1974 in Gilgit-Baltistan, and currently, so that's 40 years ago. Since 40 years, the demography has been changed a lot. Many Punjabis, many Pashtuns are living in Gilgit-Baltistan. And this thing, this CPEC, I personally believe, I think this is it's an illegal act. I think it is in contravention of international law. The area, according to the UN, is disputed. The area, according to me, Gilgit-Baltistan is occupied by Pakistan. How can you sell something which is not yours? They have sold it to the Chinese. The resources are going to be used by the Chinese. The workers are Chinese. The factories are Chinese. The investment is Chinese. Where does Gilgit-Baltistan fit in? Many people will lose their jobs. The ports will be shifted from Haveli to Gwadar. Chinese cheap products will come into Gilgit-Baltistan without tax being levied on them, and even if tax is levied on them, it will not go to the people of Gilgit-Baltistan. So in all these matters, the people of Gilgit-Baltistan will not get anything in return. And on top of that, the committee formed by the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif, has actually advised the government to make Gilgit-Baltistan a province. Well, if it makes Gilgit-Baltistan a province, the Kashmir issue is done, because the state of Jammu and Kashmir does not exist anymore. And if it does make it a province, then I think India has a legal and a moral right to abrogate Article 370 and 35A.
Moving on, Sri Lanka and India, which shares centuries-old ethnic and cultural bonds, have been working to strengthen their relationship over the last few years by working jointly in numerous areas including trade and investment, maritime security and tourism. Sri Lankan Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe recently arrived in India on a 4-day visit. He attended the 5th edition of Global Conference on Cyberspace and met his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi in New Delhi on the 3rd day of his visit. A report.
Sri Lankan Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe met his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi in New Delhi to discuss the entire gamut of bilateral ties and regional issues. The meeting comes at a time when China has been persistently trying to step up its presence in the Asia-Pacific region and particularly around the waters of the island nation. Wickremesinghe also attended the 5th edition of the Global Conference on Cyberspace, which was inaugurated by Modi. Addressing the gathering of nearly 10,000 delegates, Modi said that a trinity of government's Jan Dhan bank accounts, Aadhaar biometric identity card program and mobile phones had helped reduce corruption and brought transparency in the country.
3 factors. First, financial inclusion through our Jan Dhan bank accounts. Second, the Aadhaar platform. And third, the mobile phone have greatly helped reduce corruption and brought transparency. We call this the JAM, J-A-M, or JAM Trinity, Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile.
Meanwhile, Modi's Sri Lankan counterpart Ranil Wickremesinghe called for a balance between individual freedom and free flow of information and data in the cyberspace.
We need to consider the ethics of cyberspace. For instance, we need to strike a balance between individual freedom and the free flow of information and data. And the way I see it, good governance in cyberspace will play a pivotal role in striking this balance.
According to Visual Networking Index, complete forecast by global networking giant Cisco, the number of internet users in India is expected to grow from 373 million in 2016 to 829 million in 2021. Wickremesinghe also met Indian Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj, where the leaders held discussions on various steps to further intensify the already close and mutually beneficial relationship between the two countries.
Sri Lanka has been closely following the technological advancements in recent years and is ready to follow in the footsteps of India in the arena. Moving on, there has been no end to number of refugees fleeing from Rakhine to Bangladesh. Although United Nations and various other countries, including US, have vehemently criticized the crisis, nothing seems to have changed on the ground and people are still facing an existential crisis. We have a report.
Senior officials from Myanmar and Bangladesh held a bilateral meeting in Naypyidaw, the capital of Myanmar, to discuss the process of repatriation of hundreds of thousands of Rohingyas who have fled the violence in Rakhine since August this year and taken shelter in Bangladesh's Cox's Bazar. However, it seems unlikely that a decision is taken soon in the interest of the Rohingyas, as Myanmar never conceded to its role in the exodus and has maintained that military counter-offensive was a reaction to the insurgent attacks. On the other side, hundreds of Rohingya Muslims waited on the shores of the Nafi River to enter the Bangladesh. All spoke of violence and terror as their homes were torched by the Myanmar military and Buddhists last week, forcing them to flee.
makin bijik hari lagi deh guli mari mari alat deh mama nih begitu tapi kurang di balar nondor korok kudur kurang di balar.
A proactive team of Bangladesh military and aid agencies registers the names of aggrieved families, give them food, clothing and bedding so they could start their new lives. Meanwhile, comparing the psychological state of mind of Rohingya refugees to asylum seekers during the Central African refugee crisis in the mid-90s, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi expressed his disappointment over the situation.
Because I found this was a population that had almost no more response, very passive. You know, you almost felt that there was no emotion left. Everything had been drained by this violence. This is such a symptom of trauma, in my opinion, and I've hardly ever seen it. Perhaps I've seen things like this in the 90s in Central Africa, you know, those big movements. We haven't seen this type of trauma for a long, long time.
Meanwhile, United States, expressing its displeasure, has turned the situation ethnic cleansing and urged the Myanmar government to hold accountable those who are involved in alleged abuses.
United States has also raised doubts over China extending its hands to resolve the protracted issue of Rohingyas in Myanmar. Now we move to India, where the second Ladakh Panlam Diston 2017 was held recently to highlight the contribution of 19th Kushok Bakula Rinpoche and to commemorate the birth centenary of the Buddhist Lama. It was held under the aegis of Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council in the city of Leh. We bring you the story.
Thousands of devotees from across the world congregated in India's northern Leh city to take part in the centenary birth celebrations of Buddhist Lama, the 19th Kushok Bakula Rinpoche. The second edition of the festival began with a religious ceremony conducted at Semo Gonpa Buddhist Monastery and Prayer Hall of Leh Palace. Women from across the city took part in a procession that started from the palace and culminated at Leh Polo Ground. Organizers were thrilled to see the success of the event and said they believed in the tireless work done by great Bakula Rinpoche for the welfare of the people of Ladakh.
पलम तुस्तुन के अवसर पर भी हम बकुला रिंपोचे जी के काम के बारे में बता रहे हैं, जो कि उन्होंने ऐसा काम किया है कि जो कि आज लद्दाख जिस क्षेत्र पे है, जिस स्तर पे है, वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ बकुला रिंपोचे जी की वजह से है.
A cultural extravaganza included various dance performances by students in the presence of religious leaders, politicians, district officials and locals. The performances were met with loud cheers from thousands of monks and tourists. The 19th Kushok Bakula, who was born in royal house of Matho, was given monkhood at an early age. Rinpoche, a 20th century statesman and an international diplomat, was known for his efforts to revive Buddhism in Mongolia and Russia, linking them with the community of Tibetan exiles in India.
Rinpoche is rightly glorified for his extensive work for the welfare, education and rights of scheduled castes and tribes of India while working in the Indian Parliament. With that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Goodbye and take care.